Seems like I've been talking a lot about wrestling lately. I don't know how that got started. I think I just chose Santa with muscles, and it had to do the Ultimate Warrior thing, and the really, really bad Slammies episode of Raw. But I did watch Raw again this week, the New Year's Eve episode, or the New Year's episode of Raw, and it was a lot better. It still wasn't very good, but the big news. And I don't know if I should recap from beginning to end or just hit the highlights. I think I'll just hit the highlights. The big news is that Bret Hart has signed with the WWE. And color me apathetic. Here's the thing. I really don't care about Bret Hart, and I haven't cared for quite a long time. And to tell you the truth, I've never really gotten the obsession with the man. He was, he's the best there ever was, best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Agreed. I'm not against that. But the dude's done. It's kind of over now. He's retired. He's done wrestling. The dude had a stroke. The guy got kicked in the head by fucking Goldberg. It's kind of over now. The Montreal Screwjob was really great TV at the time. It was a really great controversy. But it's over, and it seems like I'm the only one outside of the WWE who can just kind of let that one go. It's over. And so I know a lot of people really, really invested with Bret Hart. They're like clamoring on the message boards, like, Bret Hart's back, Bret Hart's back. He's not back. He's not coming back. He may be on TV, but let's get some reality here. He's not going to wrestle again, ever. He's done. It's not physically advisable for him to wrestle, and he's not stupid. He knows this. He will not set foot in that ring to wrestle again. Now, they might have him set foot in the ring to fight McMahon, or some guy has a problem with him like Shawn Michaels, but it won't be a wrestling match. Let's not have any illusions here. Bret won't take any bumps for this guy because he's not an idiot. They might have something where he kind of slaps this guy around a little bit, very low impact stuff where he doesn't even take a single shot, slaps the guy in the sharpshooter, all told, done in 2 minutes. But that's not the Bret Hart you're wanting back. And if you're thinking like this is the most exciting thing ever, you're going to be really, really disappointed. Now, I would love to see Bret Hart back in the WWE in some kind of managerial aspect, or even behind the scenes in some respect, but I am not shitting myself in joy that Bret's back. And here's another thing that I don't think we should really be fired up about. You keep thinking that Bret's going to come back in this ring and be really controversial and tear things down and like spill the beans and rant and rave and stuff like that. They will not give him a live mic in the middle of that ring. And believe me, if they ever do get him out in front of that audience with a live mic, they will have their finger on the dump button in that production truck, like just hovering. So the minute he starts tracing like TNA in the air, they're just cutting. They're not idiots. They're not gonna be. And I'm guessing even Bret is kind of done with this by now. I'm guessing they just went to him and they're like, hey, look, you want to put on a show? We'll get you out there and you can. They'll cheer at you. We won't bring up nothing, and you can bash Vince all you want here, according to this script, and you'll book a few matches. Whee! But that's it. I'm really, this is a non-story to me. This whole Bret Hart thing. But other stuff that went on Raw. There were matches which stunned me to actually have actual competitive wrestling matches, which is all I'm saying should be on Raw. Now, they weren't very good matches, and they weren't very long matches, but hey, they got wrestlers out there doing wrestling things, and so there were a couple of stories that were told here. One being that the Legacy goes in and Randy's all pissed off, and he's like, I think we should break up. And they're like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, you guys suck, and you guys lost to Evan Bourne, and Evan Bourne doesn't lose to anybody. And they're like, well, Ted's got a new movie out that nobody will ever watch. And he's like, yeah, right. And so he's like, look, I'm going to break up, if I'm going to have you go against the guys that you lost to last week in singles matches, and if you lose, you're out of Legacy. And they're like, all right. And it says, if you lose, I'll kick your ass. And they're like, all right. So they go out there and they win their matches. Ted beats Evan Bourne or Evan Braun, and Cody beats Mark Henry. And then they're like, well, that was kind of a non-starter of an angle. Goodbye. And I think this is kind of in response to that whole internet thing where I think they're actually very conscious now of the internet rumors that Ted is turning babyface because he's got this new movie out and they want to push the movie. But that's not stopping them from pushing the movie pretty much non-stop during this fucking show anyway. So they've done that, and there's no face turn to be seen, and I don't care. I don't. The other thing was that Chris Jericho is still trying to get on Raw, and it's amazing for a guy who's been kicked off Raw how much time he is still spending on Raw. But I think that's kind of the plot line now, is he very much misses the Big Show, and they're doing this thing now where they're doing this very not even implied gayness angle between Jericho and the Big Show, where they're kind of doing this thing where they're talking about the tag team, but they're like, you could easily construe what they're talking about to be like a breakup, where they're like, it's over. I think you should just let it go. It was a good run while it lasted, but I've moved on and you should too. And Jericho's like, is there someone else? And he's like, well, no, not really. And so when you start doing an angle like that, it really doesn't help when D-Generation X is still making the gay jokes. And by the way, that's really, really annoying. And from the beginning of the reformation of DX, that's kind of all they've ever been about, is they go out and they make gay jokes about guys. And I just never really got that, because the first joke anyone makes about a guy who watches other guys wrestle around on a mat is like, this is so gay. And so when you have wrestlers implying that other wrestlers are gay, the only real response is it's like, it kind of takes one to know one there, Hunter. I don't know. And so what makes it even more pointless is when they're making these gay innuendos when they themselves are already making the homosexual innuendos. It kind of seems redundant and pointless. What else? They're doing the midget thing is still going nowhere. Oh, John Cena and Sheamus. Again, they have found a way to instantly ruin my mood. Okay, here's the story. Cena comes out and he's like, I got my title match tonight, and that whole thing where I'm never going to lose a match until I win the title back is completely, again, rendered pointless because I got my title match 2 weeks after I lost the title. And he sets up a table. He's like, we're going to have a table match. And Sheamus goes, no, we're not. And so Cena goes, okay, and then puts him through the table. And so the story of that show is, does this give Cena some advantage later on in the night? And it turns out it didn't. But so they have the title match later on that night. And what's funny is my DVR cuts out, because the show runs long. So it runs about 10 minutes after the hour, and the DVR cuts off at 5 minutes after the hour. So I miss the end of the show. Immediately pisses me off, right? But I go and I find online somebody's put up the match in the show, and so I watch the match, and here's how it goes. Just like any Cena match, what happens is the guy can't out-wrestle Cena, because nobody can. So in frustration, the guy slams the ref. Cena gets the guy beat, he pins him, but the ref calls for the bell, and he calls for a DQ because Sheamus beat the crap out of the ref. And again, here's where we have this problem where if the heel doesn't feel like defending his title, he slaps the ref, gets DQ'd, and it's over. And again, what's the point? Why, I know that's kind of one of those unanswered questions of wrestling. Like, if you retain the title on a DQ, why don't you just always get yourself disqualified? Because it would be dumb. And yet now they're just doing this. Like, the heel's like, I'm losing. I keep my title. And this is apparently going to lead to some no disqualification or a gimmick match at a pay-per-view, but this, you are so you are so ripping off a paying audience with these bullshit finishes. And are you trying to kill your ticket sales? Because that's what you're doing. You're not going to make any money if you keep doing this. Nobody will pay to see a show where there's an advertised title match on TV, on free TV, if they know that any given title match on free TV will end in a disqualification. And that's what they're doing. The Rey Mysterio Undertaker match ends in DQ. And Taker didn't get himself disqualified, but it still ends in a DQ. Again, to set up a pay-per-view match. And I can appreciate them wanting to build towards a pay-per-view. Fine. But let's not do this thing where we're always getting DQ'd. It's pointless, it's stupid, and it's pissing me off. Alright, the other thing that really stuck out to me was Timbaland sucked. Even, he may be one of the worst guest hosts they've ever had. And I'm even counting the NASCAR goons they had out there who didn't know anything. I'm even counting Piven, who didn't know anything, the Summerfest thing. But there was just something about Timbaland, who he didn't really screw anything up. But there was still this kind of air of incompetence about this guy where it was almost like he was screwing up pre-tape segments. And I don't know how you can do that. There were times when he was like, he's actually kind of struggling for words like I am now, where these wrestlers are talking to him, and he kind of goes, let me talk to you for a second. And then he kind of thinks for a second, and he's like, Miz, I think if you lose your match tonight, the title thing next week, it's tonight. And The Miz immediately has to cover for this guy. The Miz is like, so you mean if I lose my non-title match tonight, I have the title match that was going to take place next week tonight? And Timberland's like, right. And again, that was another title match that pissed me off doubly so, because the way that worked was The Miz loses to Kofi in, I shit you not, 30 seconds. Had to be 30 seconds. Couldn't have been more than 45. So, of course, there's the title match that comes right after that. And the title match after Miz was knocked out was actually much more competitive and lasted about twice as long, as in a minute, than the last match. And you know what? Ends in a DQ when Randy Orton comes out and keeps his thing with Kofi going. And he's just like, Jesus Christ, how many DQs are going to have in this fucking show? It's crazy. But Timbaland, they only brought him out one time because I can just see it. He was so dreadful in the pre-tape segments where he couldn't remember anyone's name. Even in the pre-tape segments, he couldn't even seem to remember John Cena's name, where he's like, John Cena? Kind of doing this. He's really searching, And so he gets out there, and he also had this really annoying thing where he would repeat himself 3 times. He's like, how y'all doing tonight? I said, how y'all doing tonight? No, I don't think you heard me. I said, and he kept doing this thing, everything he said he would repeat 2-3 times. And so there was this moment where he's like, and now for this title match, introducing first my man, my dog, my man John Cena. It was just so bad. I couldn't believe how bad he was. Jesse, here's the thing. I can appreciate you guys don't exactly get hosts who know what they're doing. I'm guessing a lot of people don't really watch wrestling anymore, and trust me, I'm getting there. But if your host doesn't know anything, and it's clear he doesn't know anything, and I'm guessing the host will flat out tell you ahead of time, I don't know anything. Even Jesse Ventura, who I'm guessing knows his stuff, you know what he did when he was fairly sure he was going to forget names? He got a note card, and he read off the note card. Now, this did look kind of amateurish and cheap, but at least he didn't fuck anything up. And you can actually appreciate a guy who took the time to write it down, because you don't necessarily expect a guy to remember every match in the night, so you kind of expect him to bring a card just in case he forgot a match. So, Jesse Ventura brings the card out, and he's like, we're going to do this match, and he's a good enough showman that he can, read the match and then play it to the crowd, and I think even Timbaland could read to go like John Cena versus Sheamus. John Cena versus Sheamus, do this thing, but apparently not. So, God, okay. So, Bret Hart is next week, and I don't think you're going to be all that impressed, folks. I'm sorry, but I don't think you will be. But yeah, that was Raw. I have not watched Impact. I don't think Impact was on this week, but I think New Year's Day they're having some like all-ladies show of Impact, which, yeah, don't miss out on that one. Anyway, I'll probably come back for one more. I probably have some other things to say. Got to think about it for a second, but that was wrestling. Better than last time. Low bar, though.